Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Neshtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 2, Daksha curses Lord Shiva, text number 29 onwards. So Bhrigu Muni started cursing after Nandishwara stopped. So Bhrigu Muni is saying, Nashta Shocha Mudadhiyo Jata Bhasmasti Dharina Vishantu Shiva Dikshayam Yatra Devam Surasavam. Those who vow to worship Lord Shiva are so foolish that they imitate him by keeping long hair on their heads. When initiated into worshipping Lord Shiva, they prefer to live on wine, flesh, and other such things. Indulging in wine and meat, keeping long hair on one's head, not bathing daily, and smoking ganja, marijuana, and some of the habits which are accepted by foolish creatures do not have regulated lives. By such behavior, one becomes devoid of transcendental knowledge. In the initiation into the Shiva mantra, there are mudri kashtaka, in which it is sometimes recommended that one make a sitting place on the vagina and thus desire nirvana or dissolution of existence. In that process of worship, wine is needed, or sometimes in place of wine, palm tree juice, which is converted into an intoxicant. This is also offered according to Shiva Agama, a scripture on the method of worshipping Lord Shiva. And this what Bhrigu Muni said, it's really coming into practice these days. There's so many so-called Shiva followers or Shiva worshippers, and they do these things, those aghoris and tantrics and this and that. They do follow these kind of regulations. Or no regulation, but this kind of rituals. Brahmacha brahmanashcheva yadyuyam parinindata setum vidharanam punsam mataha pashandam ashritaha. Bhrigu Muni continued, since you blaspheme the Vedas and the Brahmans, who are followers of the Vedic principles, it is understood that you have already taken shelter of the doctrine of atheism. Bhrigu Muni, in cursing Nandishvara, said that not only would they be degraded as atheists because of this curse, but they have already fallen to the standard of atheism because they had blasphemed the Vedas, which are the source of human civilization. So they have blasphemed the Vedas means Nandishvara, when he gave the curse, he said, oh, you won't follow the scriptures and fall down and you will do this, that. So Bhrigu Muni, he cursed Nandishvara back. That by cursing the Brahmans, you have shown that you are an atheist. Means worshippers of Lord Shiva will basically come to atheism. Human civilization is based on the qualitative divisions of social order, namely the intelligent class, the martial class, the productive class, and the laborer class. The Vedas provide the right direction for advancing in spiritual cultivation and economic development and regulating the principles of sense gratification, so that ultimately one may be liberated from material contamination to his real state of spiritual identification, Aham Brahmasmi. As long as one is in the contamination of material existence, one changes bodies from the aquatics up to the position of Brahma, but the human form of life is the highest perfectional life in the material world. The Vedas give directions by which to elevate oneself to the next life. The Vedas are the mothers for such instructions, and the Brahmans, or persons who are in knowledge of Vedas, are the fathers. Thus, if one blasphemes the Vedas and Brahmans, naturally one goes down to the status of atheism. So this is what Bhrigu Muni cursed them, Nandishvara and the followers of Lord Shiva. The exact word used in Sanskrit is Nastika, which refers to one who does not believe in the Vedas, but manufactures some concocted system of religion. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that the followers of the Buddhist system of religion are Nastikas. In order to establish his doctrine of non-violence, Lord Buddha flatly refused to believe in the Vedas, and thus later on Shankaracharya stopped the system of religion in India and forced it to go outside India. So Mahaprabhu said the followers of Buddhist system of religion are Gnostic because they don't believe in the Vedas at all. Buddha, when he came, because there was so much of rampant animal slaughter in the name of sacrifice or yajna, that Lord Buddha had to put down this annual sacrifice. He said, okay, don't do annual sacrifice. He had to stop it. And he said, if Vedas recommend annual sacrifice, then I don't believe in Vedas. So basically he converted majority of population into Buddhism, so who won't follow the Vedas. Even though Buddha is considered one of the 10 incarnations, but his doctrine, his philosophy is not considered compatible with the Vedas, Vedic scriptures. Because he said, do not follow Vedas, just follow me. Ahimsa paramo dharma, and he gave the philosophy of voidism. Everything becomes void after you die. But because he put down Vedas and the Vedic system, this philosophy was kicked out of India by Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya established the teachings of Vedas. Of course, he established in a wrong way, the Mayavad way, but to get people from Buddhist philosophy, which has no Vedas, and voidism, to at least starting following the Vedas. And Shankaracharya worked hard to establish the Vedas again. But obviously, he gave the philosophy based on whatever Krishna told him to do. So that's why he did that. But this is what he did, and he forced it to go outside India. So it basically went towards China and the Eastern Asian countries or Oriental countries. Here it is stated, Brahma cha Brahmanam, Brahmanan. Brahma means the Vedas. Aham Brahmasmi means I am in full knowledge. The Vedic assertion is that one should think that he is Brahman, for actually he is Brahman. If Brahma or the Vedic spiritual science is condemned and the masters of the spiritual science, the Brahmans are condemned, then Vedas, human civilization, stand. So Bhrigu Muni said, it's not due to my cursing that you shall become atheists. You are already situated in the principle of atheism. Therefore, you are condemned. Because you're condemning Brahmins who are supposed to be guiding the society based on Vedas, based on knowledge, spiritual knowledge. So he said all the followers of Shiva will be called Gnostics, atheists. Esha eva hi lokanam Shiva pantha sanatanaha yam purve chanu santasthur yat pramanam janardanaha. The Vedas give the eternal regulative principles for auspicious advancement in human civilization, which have been rigidly followed in the past. The strong evidence of this principle is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is called Janardhan, the well-wisher of all living entities. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, has claimed that he is the father of all living entities, regardless of form. There are 8,400,000 different species of life forms, and Lord Krishna claims that he is the father of all. Because the living entities are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're all sons of the Lord. And for their benefit, because they are hovering under the impression that they can lord it over material nature, the Vedas are given to them for their guidance. Therefore, the Vedas are called Apaurushaya, for they are not written by any man or demigod, including the first living creature, Brahma. Brahma is not the creator or author of the Vedas. He is also one of the living beings in this material world. Therefore, he does not have the power to write or speak the Vedas independently. Every living entity within this material world is subject to four deficiencies. He commits mistakes, he accepts one thing for another, means he is illusioned, he cheats, and he has imperfect senses. Vedas, however, are not written by any living creature within this material world. Therefore, they are said to be apaurushaya, means apaurushaya means not written by any material person. No one can trace out the history of the Vedas. Of course, modern human civilization has no chronological history of the world or the universe, and it cannot present actual historical facts older than 3,000 years. But no one has traced out when the Vedas were written, because they were never written by any living being within this material world. All other systems of knowledge are defective because they have been written or spoken by men or demigods who are products of this material creation. So even the demigods, if they say something, that cannot be absolute truth. But Bhagavad Gita is apaurushaya, for it was not spoken by any human being or any demigod of this material creation. It was spoken by Lord Krishna, who is beyond the material creation. That is accepted by such stalwart scholars as Shankaracharya, not to speak of other acharyas as Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya. Shankaracharya has accepted that Narayana and Krishna are transcendental, and in Bhagavad Gita also Lord Krishna has established Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. I am the origin of everything. Everything emanates from me. So if everything, spiritual material, comes from Krishna, means Krishna is beyond all this. This material creation including Brahma and Shiva and all other demigods, have been created by him, for everything has emanated from him. He also says that the purpose of all the Vedas is to understand him. He is the original Vedavit, or the knower of the Vedas, and Vedantakrit, or compiler of Vedanta. Brahma is not the compiler of the Vedas. So why there's such a big purport on who gave the Vedas? Because Bhrigu Muni says, the Vedas give the eternal regulative principles for auspicious advancement in human civilization. And that includes understanding Krishna or Janardana. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is established, Tene Brahma Ruda. The supreme absolute truth, the personality of God, had instructed Brahma in the Vedic knowledge through his heart. Therefore, the evidence that Vedic knowledge is free from the defects of mistakes, illusions, cheating, and imperfection is that it is spoken by the supreme personality of Godhead, Janardana, and has thus been followed from time immemorial, beginning from Brahma. The Vedic religion or the principles of the Vedas have been followed by the highly cultured population of India since time immemorial. No one can trace out the history of Vedic religion, therefore it is Sanatana. And any blasphemy against the Vedas is calculated to be atheism. The Vedas are described as Setu, which means a bridge. If one wants to attain his spiritual existence, one has to cross an ocean of nescience. The Vedas are the bridge by which to cross such a great ocean. So Vedas are not just the books written by Brahmaji or some great sages. No. Vedas are the teachings of the knowledge given by the Supreme Lord Himself. And this is what Prabhupada saying they were considered a setu or bridge, means by how to cross from this material world to the spiritual world. The Vedas describe how to divide the human race into 4 divisions according to quality and working capacity. This is a very scientific system and it's also Sanatan. For no one can trace out its history and it has no dissolution. No one can stop the system of Varna and Ashram or the caste and divisions. For example, whether or not one accepts the name Brahman, there is a class in the society which is known as the intelligent class and which is interested in spiritual understanding and philosophy. Similarly, there is a class of men who are interested in administration and ruling others. In the Vedic system, these martially spirited men are called Kshatriyas. Similarly, everywhere there is a class of men who are interested in economic development, business, industry, and money making. They are called Vaishyas. And there is another class who are neither intelligent nor martially spirited nor endowed with the capacity for economic development, but who simply can serve others. They are called Shudras or the laborer class. This system is Sanatan. It comes from time immemorial and it will continue in the same way. There is no power in the world which can stop it. Therefore, since the Sanatan Dharma system is eternal, one can elevate himself to the highest standard of spiritual life by following the Vedic principles. So this Sanatan Dharma system, Varna, which is Varnashram Dharma, is eternal since the beginning of time. And it will continue to be so. Communist countries, communist parties, they say in communist country everybody is equal. But they cheat people. They don't do the right way. Everybody is equal in the sense, yes, everybody is a spirit soul and a son of God. In that way, they are equal. But even in communist country, there is an intelligent class, there is an administrative class, there is a business class, and there is a labor class. We cannot change the system. It has to work this way. But in communist countries, what they have done, okay, everybody is equal, but still everybody will work differently according to their intelligence. But government will pay them equally. But who is it going to decide? The government, which is corrupt itself, made up of corrupt people, how can they decide who's going to get what? So when they decide, they don't give everybody equally. They give to people who favor them something more. And so that creates a whole chaos in the society. On the other hand, capitalism means money is honey, money is sweeter than honey, money is everything. So no matter what you do, how you make money, you're the boss, you're best, because you have made money. Whether you have intelligence or not, but you have made money, that's it. So both the systems are not exactly proper. Because in both the systems, God is not in the center. Communist countries, they don't believe in God. And capitalist countries, money is God. So the systems are not correct at all. So the correct system is Sanatana Dharma system, and it should be followed properly. It is stated here that formerly the sages followed this system. Therefore, to follow the Vedic system is to follow the standard etiquette of society. But the followers of Lord Shiva, who are drunkards, who are addicted to intoxicants and sex life, who do not bathe and who smoke ganja, are against all human etiquette. The conclusion is that persons who rebel against the Vedic principles are themselves evidence that the Vedas are authoritative, because by not following the Vedic principles, they become like animals. Such animalistic persons are themselves evidence of the supremacy of the Vedic regulations. So Vedic regulations, Vedic teachings, Vedic system is wonderful. We have to adopt it. We have to implement it properly in the society. Because if those who don't follow, then they follow all sorts of nonsense. Tadvram paramam shuddham satam vartuma sanatanam vigarya yat pashandam devam vo yatra bhutarat. By blaspheming the principles of the Vedas, which are the pure and supreme path of the saintly persons, certainly followers of Bhutapati, Lord Shiva, will descend to the standard of atheism without a doubt. Lord Shiva is described here as Bhutarat. The ghosts and those who are situated in the material mode of ignorance are called Bhutas. So Bhutarat refers to the leader of the creatures who are in the lowest standard of the material modes of nature. Another meaning of Bhuta is anyone who has taken birth or anything which is produced, so that in that sense, Lord Shiva may be accepted as a father of this material world. Here, of course, Bhrigu Muni takes Lord Shiva as the leader of the lowest creatures. The characteristics of the lowest class of men have already been described. They do not bathe, they have long hair on their heads, and they are addicted to intoxicants. In comparison with the path followed by the followers of Bhutarat, the Vedic system is certainly excellent, for it promotes people to spiritual life as the highest eternal principle of human civilization. If one decries or blasphemes the Vedic principles, then he falls to the standard of atheism. So Lord Shiva here is called Bhutarat or Bhutpati because he is the leader of the creature, so then the lowest standard of material modes of nature. Of course, that is his greatness, because nobody else would give them association otherwise. But Bhrigu Muni is speaking in a different way, so that you all are Bhutas. That's why your Lord is Bhutarat or Bhutapati. And you all are atheistic people. Text 33. Maitreya Vacha Tasyavam Vadataha Shapam Bhrigoh Saye Bhagwan Bhava Nishchakram Tatha Kinchit Vimana Saye Sanugaha. The sage Maitreya said, when such cursing and counter-cursing was going on between Lord Shiva's followers and the parties of Daksha and Bhrigu, Lord Shiva became very morose. Not saying anything, he left the arena of the sacrifice, followed by his disciples. Here Lord Shiva's excellent character is described, in spite of the cursing and counter-cursing between the parties of Daksha and Shiva. Because he is the greatest Vaishnava, he was so sober that he did not say anything. A Vaishnava is always tolerant, and Lord Shiva is considered the topmost Vaishnava. So his character, as shown in this scene, is excellent. He became morose because he knew that these people, both his men and Daksha's, were unnecessarily cursing and counter-cursing one another, without any interest in spiritual life. From his point of view, he did not see anyone as lower or higher because he is a Vaishnava. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Pandita Samdarshina, one who is perfectly learned does not see anyone as lesser or greater because he sees everyone from the spiritual platform. Thus, the only alternative left to Lord Shiva was to leave in order to stop his follower Nandishvara as well as Bhrigu Muni from cursing and counter-cursing in that way. So Lord Shiva became very morose, very sad that what is going on. This was supposed to be a place of sacrifice, and Brahmaji is here, all the demigods are here, and look at my followers and the followers of Daksha. They just engage in cursing each other. Text 34. Tepi Vishwasrajaha Satram Sahasra Parivatsaram Samvidhaya Maheshwasa Yatreja Rishbho Hari. The sage Maitreya continued, O Vidura, all the progenitors of the universal population thus executed a sacrifice for thousands of years. For sacrifice is the best way to worship the Supreme Lord, Hari, the personality of Godhead. Okay, somehow I was wrong when I said the sacrifice stopped. When the sacrifice went on, these people, Shiva, his followers, Daksha, they left. It is clearly stated here that the stalwart personalities who generate the entire population of the world are interested in satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead by offering sacrifices. The Lord also says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktaram Yagitapsam, one may engage in performing sacrifices and severe austerities for perfection, but they're all meant to satisfy the Supreme Lord. If such activities are performed for personal satisfaction, one is involved in Pashanda or atheism. But when they perform for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, one is following the Vedic principle. All the assembled sages performed sacrifices for 1,000 years. So that for that long, the sacrifice went on. Apluptyav yatra ganga yamna yanvitaha virjainatmana sarve swam samdham yayustata. My dear Vidura, carrier of bows and arrows, all the demigods who were performing the sacrifice took their bath at the confluence of Ganges and Yamuna after completing the Yajna performance. Such bath is called Avabhrit Snan. After thus performing, becoming purified in heart, they departed for their respective abodes. This is the last verse of the chapter, so I wanted to complete that. After Lord Shiva and previously Daksha left the arena of sacrifice, the sacrifice was not stopped. The sages went on for many years in order to satisfy the Supreme Lord. The sacrifice was not destroyed for want of Shiva and Daksha, and the sages went on with their activities. In other words, it may be assumed that if one does not worship the demigods, even up to Lord Shiva and Brahma, one can nevertheless satisfy the Supreme Personality of God. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Kamastasta Jnana Prapadyantayana Devata. Persons who are impelled by lust and desire go to the demigods to derive some material benefit. In his commentary on this Bhagavad Gita verse, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur uses a very specific verse, Nashta Buddhaya, means persons who have lost their sense or intelligence. Only such persons care for demigods and want to derive material benefits from them. Of course, this does not mean that one should not show respect to the demigods, but there is no need to worship them. One who is honest may be faithful to the government, but he does not need to bribe the government servants. Bribery is illegal. One who does not bribe a government servant, but that does not mean that one does not show him respect. Similarly, one who engages in the transcendental living service of the Supreme Lord does not need to worship any demigod, nor does he have any tendency to show disrespect to the demigods. So Prabhupada is clearly mentioning here that one who engages in transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord does not need to worship the demigods, but at the same time he has to respect the demigods. They are in a better position than us. It's just like I was listening to one lecture and he said, like, I have my father and my father loves me in the house and I love my father, I serve him, I respect him. But if I need something, anything material, then I go and ask my neighbor or father's friend. I asked him, okay, can you buy me this? How would the father feel? So similarly, Krishna is our everything. If you need anything, ask Krishna, not ask anybody else. So this is, and at the same time, we show respect to all the demigods. The Lord says that anyone who worships the demigods is also worshipping him, but he is worshipping Avidhipurvakam, which means without following the regulative principles. The regulative principle is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Worship of demigods may indirectly be worship of the Personality of Godhead, but it's not regulated. By worshipping the Supreme Lord, one automatically serves all the demigods because they are parts and parcels of the whole. If one supplies water to the root of a tree, all the parts of the tree, such as the leaves, branches, are automatically satisfied. And if one supplies food to the stomach, all the limbs of the body, the hands, legs, fingers, etc., are nourished. Thus, by worshipping the Supreme Personality of God, one can satisfy all the demigods. But by worshipping all the demigods, one does not completely worship the Supreme Lord. Thus, worship of the demigods is irregular and it is disrespectful towards the scriptural injunctions. And that's why Prabhupada says, in this age, the intelligent person completes the performance of all the yajnas simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. When Lord Vishnu is satisfied, all the demigods, the parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are completely satisfied. So this is the yajna actually. Sacrifice means for the pleasure of Krishna or Vishnu. And when he is pleased, especially in Kali Yuga, he is pleased by our chanting of the holy names. And when he is pleased, all the demigods are satisfied. On the other hand, if we go on worshipping all the demigods, which is impossible, 33 crores are there, and even if we worship only the major ones, still Krishna is not satisfied. So what's the point in that? So anyway, people are more inclined towards worshipping the demigod because they bestow some material benedictions, which they cannot bestow on their own. They get the power of doing that from Krishna himself. But so that is why it is said worshipping of demigods is worship of Krishna, but avidhipurvakam, in a non-regulated way. So why not worship him vidhipurvakam, properly, the way he wants us? And then he opens the door for the spiritual world for us. And that's the best benediction one can get. So we'll stop here, see anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, on the name of Lord Shiva, there are so many things happening. Like, for an example, like mentioned, like smoke of ganja, weed, and all those things. And I think in Delhi, there's one temple where they offer alcohol bottles. Somewhere, I'm not sure it's Delhi or somewhere in India only. They just go 1/4, they'll put it in the temple, or either they pour it. But is it? I mean. It's the right way to do the worship, or it's just in Hindi you say na dakiya nusi thing.
It's like they want to satisfy their own senses. They're using the name of Shiva. Just like if you go to Shani temple, along with Shani, they worship, I'm forgetting his name, and they offer him liquor and cigarettes. And then they themselves smoke and drink that.
And on top of that, when I was in West Bengal, there was a lot of gatherings happen on Shiv Charcha. It's named those gatherings were named as Shiv Charcha. So where a lot of ladies comes in, gather, and they talk about. I mean, that's very good practice actually. Talk about Lord Shiva and their pastimes. But they also mentions about eating non-veg. It's fine, absolutely fine eating non-veg and still doing worshipping Lord Shiva. And so I mean, this is it's quite funny and very
Again,
dangerous also.
just to satisfy their tongue.
Yes.
They also worship Kali and they offer her all sorts of non-veg. But Kali does not accept non-veg. Kali does not eat non-veg. Kali is who? Is she Durga Devi herself? Expansion of Durga Devi. She doesn't eat non-veg. What she does is, even if they offer non-veg to Lord Shiva, so what does Shiva do? Lord Shiva never eats non-veg. He's a Param Vaishnava. So he gives it to his associates, these ghosts, because ghosts eat. So basically these people are eating prasad of the ghosts. But what kind of logic is that?
Unbelievable.
That's why knowledge is very important, and Prabhupada has given wonderful knowledge in his books. Nobody has explained this way, the way Prabhupada did. At the same time, he's saying, no, do not worship them, but don't disrespect them either.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, so we can stop here. You all have a wonderful and safe day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri
Thank you,
Prabhupada.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you
Jai
very
Shri
much,
Prabhupada.
Prabhuji.